What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. We have the Godfather himself in the house with us, Mr. Andrew Gaydosh. Brother, what is happening?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. It's I always love that intro, seeing all of those faces, and I'm like, damn. And then I look at 316. Yeah, we've had a lot of amazing conversations, and you've been a part of a lot of those. And I'm really, always really excited as the landscape of real estate is changing and evolving fast, right? Especially around the technology side of things. We have a lot of distractions. And, Perso and I, one of my, our favorite conversations to always kind of talk about is kind of the Bezos question of, okay, what's not going to change as we continue to progress into the future? We talk about, AI, social media, just all of the cool sexiness. But what do we know that we can pretty much hedge our bets against? High probability, not going to change. I would be willing to bet almost everything that shaking hands and kissing babies, building relationships, building trust is never going to change in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. It's I think the differentiation factor that we all are going to need, or it's going to be the key to, staying relevant in the future and combating the, hey, I can pay for presence. You look right now at all the relationships and the agreements that are being formed with different, AI models to, ChatGPT is signing up with Zillow and all this other kind of stuff. Well, who do you think is going to get the nod when they ask those platforms, who's the best realtor in town, or who should I hire? It's going to be the elite strategic alliance agents that are with those people, which can change based on how much you pay them, right? So how are you going to secure a true, authentic relationship? And that's old school. And I think that's why the Neighborhood Mayor program is so vital for us, or something like it, to continue to maintain those relationships so that we could be the one that they think of, and they're not asking or reaching out to a source that maybe they don't 100% trust. They already know who to trust. They see it every day.
Yeah, no, it's so good. And to your point, right? Eric at Whoosy has, kind of his, crystal ball out, but he really feels we're moving into kind of that analog, renaissance of, there's a lot of noise over here with tech, but like the opportunity is being able to connect with another human. And it's almost like that skill set is like becoming less and less prevalent. And it's just wild, right? As much as, our kiddos growing up on screen time, continuing to have more and more screen time, and less of how to interact in a friend group and, really knee-to-knee, face-to-face friend group versus online, their gaming buddies and things that they have. And so I think your Neighborhood Mayor program, one, by far the best when it comes to the geo, farm area, that I think we can all agree is super, super critical to be able to have an element inside of your business, being that local known celebrity in a small geographical area, and having that skill set to develop relationships and bring people together. And you're one of the best. So Andrew, let's jump in to maybe some of the foundational things within the Neighborhood Mayor program that have evolved and will continue to evolve. But here are some of the things that will never change, no matter if we have the AI robots right next to us. These are the things that still won't change when it comes to the geographical, the farming area that you're the best in the world at.
Yeah, I think the fundamentals are they have to know you. So they have to know who you are. They have to know you're in real estate. They have to know whatever you think is important for them to feel trust in you. So the know, like, and the trust are the fundamentals that are always going to be there. And, you could be the best agent in the world, and you can be the most giving agent, but if people don't know that you're even an agent, how are they going to call you? So it's really a land, air, and sea attack for you to basically be the gorilla in the market, so that they know that, hey, number one, you're giving back to the community, which is one of the biggest things. And I think the most underrated things that people don't realize. They always want to get before they give, where it actually starts by the giving. So you have to give first. And that can be, we have 3 different levels of our program where we talk about what you can afford at different levels, and we can get into that later. But you have to give first, and then you have to deliver on your promises so that they trust that what you're going to do, you do. And then you have to have a good reputation of taking care of people in the market. And I think your reputation will follow naturally and organically if you're just doing the right things. But that is the fundamental thing that's never going to change. They have to, you got to do enough marketing so they know who you are. They got to get to know you a little bit on the personal level, or at least the things that you're doing for the community. And they've got to then trust that, you know, you're a good person and that you're going to do good for them.
So let's unpack the give first. And so when you're looking at the items to give, especially in these geographical areas that we're choosing to go. So when you look at kind of the choosing process, right? I was in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago with Gene Darden doing kind of their rally events with Real, and we did a VIP deal the night before. Had some just talented agents on the panel and in the room. And one of the farming question came up, and, you know, immediately my whole brain runs to your whole program. Cause like I said, and this is not, I love you, but you honestly do have the best program when it comes to, you know, the geographical side of things. And it's not that you've done it once, you've replicated it, but then you've also been able to do it for others. So that's like proof of concept. It's legit. So my mind is running through that process, but how critical, because it's easy to build to be known online, but when choosing that location, I mean, how critical is it, especially early going, that you actually have real human time in that geographical market as well?
Yeah, I think that, and we learned a real big lesson when we tried to replicate what we did at a community called Lake Lochengrin, and we tried to fire it up at Yankee Trace, which was 45 minutes away. And we tried to do the same things, but we left out some of the critical part. We were making enough money and we had the resources that we could immediately jump to the 3rd tier of our system, which is the incumbent mayor, is what we call it. And that's when you're doing the big things. You're sending out postcards everywhere, and you're big top of mind. But we didn't realize we didn't go through the 2-a-days. We didn't build the foundational relationship with those people in that neighborhood like we did out of necessity out of the first one that we did. And that all grew organically with, you know, not having money to blitz the market. And so we had to be resourceful. We had to tag team on other events that were already being done in the area and maybe help sponsor them or put sweat equity into them, organization wise, that kind of thing. We then had, you know, so the 3 tiers of our program are your mayor candidate. That's somebody that's striving to become the mayor of the neighborhood. You have very little money and more time. You're doing cookouts, you're doing, you know, low cost things where trying to get people together, and it's a heavy lift. It's a lot of energy, but it's rewarding because those are where you're forming your relationships. And then you have your first term mayor. That's somebody that when you're getting about 10% of market share, 15%, people are starting to recognize that, hey, you're kind of the one of the top players in the market. You can add on to that. And then as an incumbent mayor, I mean, you're dominating. You're the guy that, you know, the incumbents generally have the inside track to get elected the next time. So that's why we call it that. So therefore, I guess what I'm saying is we recognize that because we didn't do the grassroots stuff, we were missing a little bit. So we then had to circle back around. I know you and I had a conversation about this back in the day, and we really got back to grassroots, you know, shaking hands, kissing babies, interacting on our events. I mean, I was trying to be in 2 different markets at once. So my bandwidth was a little light. So I was kind of saying, hey, if I do this over here in Yankee Trace, I'd like to do it without me having to be involved real heavily.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Theory from a scalability, yeah, it'd be perfect. So what we realize now is we can actually, with our agents and other people we've helped, we have the mini mayors on our team that we've helped them go in, but somebody's got to be the face. Somebody's got to be there to shake the hands and kiss the babies and to show that you really care about the community. And number one, I hear all the time when I get that come list me call is like, hey, I love what you're doing for the community. I mean, the things you do for the community are just amazing. And I think that's the differentiating factor of the like and trust part of it. And then of course they see the sales. Now they're like, and we know he can do the job.
Yeah. So the proof shows up. So back to your first point of give first. What are you giving? And maybe walk us through each of the levels, right? Like the candidate, definitely, like you said, less money, more time. I would feel the first term probably has a little bit of both, right? Time and money.
Right.
And then the incumbent probably has more money than time. So kind of how that balances. But what are, givers gain, like, go to give. What is it that we have to give as that's kind of the first principle?
Yeah,
give first.
I think you have to really reach out to the community and find out what they need. What's lacking. There certainly are organizations within a community historically, even if it's a small subdivision. And we should talk a little bit about identifying geographic markets, because there's an art to that too. But let's say you've got a smaller subdivision with, say, 500 homes or whatever, or even 250, and they don't have a real formal big time HOA or whatever. There's still things that need to be done there. And maybe you can act as the role of the social coordinator for an Easter egg hunt, or, Kona ice truck at, when they drop the kids off the last day of school. Those are easier opportunities to go in when they don't have much already established. So you're giving your organization, you're giving your creativity, and then you're giving your relationships that you have with service providers to say, hey, listen, my loan officer, let's grow together in this market. Why don't you pay for half the postcards? I'll pay for the half. We'll share in the acquisition and the exposure, and we'll do this together. You get 2 or 3 preferred vendors to go with you. You can kind of get that cost down a little bit. But I think giving is just identifying what the needs are in that market. And a lot of it's your time and your energy, because that really means more. I mean, think about it. If I had a computer generated thank you card sent out, even though I composed it and it wrote it and it sent it and it was all automated, it probably wouldn't mean as much to you, John, other than a handwritten postcard that you knew that I took the time to write it.
Yeah.
So the giving of time is really a big deal. And I think in that first term mayor, you spend a lot of time reaching out to people in the community to find out what they need. And it doesn't have to be even a community-wide thing. We would, if there was a bad storm, in hurricane relief, things like that, we would get together and, hey, we're going to be at the office today, filling up the trunks of the SUVs with water taken, down to donate. It doesn't have to be just giving for your own community. It's just an overall giving community, or giving mindset that the community sees that, hey, this guy's not just taking, he's not just making money, he's also giving back to the community.
Just made me think there, like you said, it's almost like an advantage to you if it's not a master plan community, if they don't have, somebody that's kind of a community director running, the whole community activity, because you can step in and play that role and coordinate and do those things. That was just kind of where my mind was going. And then you were talking about like being the go-to from, food drives, clothing drives, things like that, to where you can, rally and get the community engaging and getting involved outside of entertainment, right? Actually being able to do something of value is really awesome. The second thing that you said that was really important, right? Give first, but then deliver on the promise. What is the promise as a neighborhood mayor? What is the promise that you're making to that geographical community that you're focused on?
Well, I think the results are the results that happen, and you start to form a community culture, happen, and people recognizing all the time. I hear people often thank me for, hey, you helped build the community the way it is. So I think the promise, or the delivery of the promise, is, hey guys, we're out here just trying to do the right thing. That's the promise. We're trying to give back to the community, and I don't ever make any bones about it. Hey, this is Andrew. We're working with folks in the community that are working in the community and giving back to the community. So when I talk about my preferred vendors, I always tee them up as, hey, these are the kind of people that you want to work with. They're giving back to your community. They may work in your community, the HVAC people, the lawn care people, but they're also giving back to your community in the form of advertising, promotion, whatever. Of course, I fall into that without me saying it's me too, because I'm doing the same thing they are. At the same time, we also are delivering on results. And if they think that I'm going out saying, hey, look, we're going to put together an incredible show for a 4th of July celebration, and all the lead up, the content that's created, the advertising that we're putting together, the groups that I'm trying to get with me to help advertise, all that stuff leads up to, and then we produce a good show. Well, guess what? We just delivered on results that were promised. So people see that. Sometimes it's underlying, sometimes it's nothing about real estate, but at the end of the day, they're going to trust us. And then what happens? Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
No, and then what happens is they start trusting that, hey, this guy gets things done. You're reinforcing it with the content of the sales that you're making in the neighborhood. They see the signs going up. They're part of your private Facebook group. They're seeing all the content and seeing the postcards. I mean, they can't help but know that you're the person. And you're going to get some negative on that because people don't like often the guy that's or the gal that's in pole position. They root for the underdog, but it's a very slim percentage, and you have to just be a little thick-skinned about that.
When did you, I don't even know if I've ever even asked you this out of all the times that we've ever talked about this. Like, I understand the origin story within Lock and Grin and, the first night and kind of how the first weekend transpired. But when was it that you realized that there was a void missing at Lock and Grin, that there was maybe an opportunity there for you? Like, where did that really click? And you're like, okay, wait, there is an opportunity here.
Yeah, I think it was just, again, out of what options I had. I mean, I'm somewhat of a hustler, entrepreneurial guy. And here I was 20 years old in a community that I knew nobody. I didn't have any friends that were of the buying age. I didn't really have much to offer other than I had a hustle. And my thought was, okay, how can I get to form relationships quicker than organically, like running into somebody occasionally? The best way to do that would be to get to know the organizations, get to know the groups of people, because in every neighborhood, there's kind of niched out people.
Sure.
If I could align myself with them and be part of the crew somehow, then I'm in good shape. And the other thing is, I like to have a good time. So I was, self-serving too. I'm throwing events that I would like to attend.
Yeah.
And, and I think that we can always do better than a formal organizational representation that has to appease the board. I mean, one of the things that I would bank on every day, that if you took an individual agent and had them put together an event and compared that to something that was put on by the HOA is probably going to be a little vanilla, where we're going to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to play in the gray, right? I mean, that's just where we play. And yeah, your HOA is going to have to, black and white. I mean, it's just where they're going to have to be. So I love that. And do you feel like, because you were also a little selfish in how you were building this out, it also allowed you to be a little more authentic, a little more transparent, which helped accelerate the trust inside of the community?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think part of it was organic for wanting to do the things I wanted to do, but you're right. People get to know you. And I think if you're aligning yourself with a group of people that are in alignment, for example, a lake community, that was real important because that was the culture. When we went to Yankee Trace, which is a golf community, and I'm not a golfer, guess what? The only time I golf is in scrambles, and is how many cocktails I drink on my golf cart. I had to change things up, and but there are alignments that we ended up putting together a big golf outing for a cause that's really deep and dear to my wife and I's heart. And we didn't do it for the purpose of gaining neighborhood mayor status. I mean, honestly, we did it because we wanted to do it. And these are how I think organically it kind of grew. And I would hear often, I can't believe what wonderful things you guys are doing for the community. And that Birdies for Babies is a really big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
that's a classic example of the little things that worked in Lockengren that I didn't really think about it being business wise, but I realized it after the fact. And then you double down on it with Yankee. I mean, we just tried a lot of things, and we did what we felt we wanted to do, and we were authentic, and we took some heat a little bit, because everybody is. Anytime you're trying to move up the ranks, you're going to hear the little grumbles of the original guard, but you just can't pay attention to that. You got to keep plowing through and doing the right thing and connecting with the people and trying to do the right thing every time. The other thing is fiercely protect your reputation, because in small communities it can go south real quick. There are a lot of times where you're dealing with unreasonable people, and more often than not, with the emotions, it would be super easy to say, you know what, it's not worth the commission, or I'm not worth the fight. You have to be humble, and you have to understand that your reputation is everything. And if you can at least walk away in a neutral relationship with somebody, if they're on the other side of the fence, then that's better than them not having good things to say because they think you're working against them. So that's just another tip on the side.
What are some of the things to proactively, because that is the third point, is your reputation is everything. So what are some of the things proactively that you have to have in play to really build and protect your reputation?
Yeah, I think just really, you can't outsource that. Like if a transaction's going really well, you can have your staff and people kind of handle it. But the minute they hear or smell or get the inclination that there's anybody that's upset, you've got to be right in there, and you need to be offering more than what they're expecting on the other end. And that's just really critical. So understand, you may lose money on a transaction, but you're not losing, or you may lose the battle, but you're going to win the war in the long run, because they will recognize it. Hey, Gaydosh is a good guy. He did the right thing. I'm not 100% happy the fact that my roof needed to be replaced and I had to give the buyer half the value of it, but he was willing to all help out in this situation and didn't tell us just to jump in the lake.
Yeah. No, I just, as you were talking and just kind of really thinking through, I mean, this is a long-term strategy. This is not like, a quick in and out, this is a decade, this is years strategy, something that you got to be willing to commit to. Is that a fair assessment?
It is. But what's great is because the barrier of entry is really kind of tough, it's harder to knock you off your game quickly. And I think we're going to be a little bit more insulated to the AI. We need to stay up with, and we need to leverage it to continue to do better with our relationships. But I think it prevents the latest shining object coming along and taking you out, right? The other thing is, we have proven that you can be up and running within a year or two in a neighborhood mayor situation by just putting the work in. When we started replicating Yankee from Lockengren, and both of those are about 1,500 home developments, it took about 5 years to get really rolling with Yankee, because we didn't do the right things in the right order. Like I said, we didn't do the grassroots stuff. But I think we got it down to a science now, where there are fundamental events that you need to do. A lot of them are for the children. A lot of them are for some of the, maybe the folks that are a little bit older that are retired. Some of them that really make an impact. And I enjoy being part of those groups and part of those events. And I think that if you are able to do it, follow the steps that we teach, you can get up and running within a year or two. And we've had some of our agents that have early success, at least at bats, where you're getting called into some of the opportunities that maybe you don't win those opportunities because you haven't really proven yourself yet, but you're in the game.
Yeah, no, I love that. And yeah, it's just, finding a non-existent or a dormant, program that maybe there are a couple agents in there, maybe they used to hustle it, now they no longer do. I can see where it's prime pickings to be able to get in. And listen, a lot of this is just effort, and a lot of it is just showing up and having a strategy and executing on it. You're already 95% ahead, 97% ahead of anybody else in the marketplace by just willing to put in some effort. You're going to win.
Well, I mean, think about how many agents. I mean, we have over 300 agents in our organization, or at least I do, and I see how they're trying to jam, and everybody's scratching and clawing. And then we've got another 24, 25 on our team that I'm a little bit more intimate in with their business plan. And I think the biggest challenge that agents have is like they just don't know what to do, when to do it. And they've got the internet leads as 1/3 of their opportunity. They have their sphere of influence, which should be the other 1/3 of opportunity, that they're networking and driving business that way. And then I think you need to have another 1/3 of your business is coming from something like a neighborhood mayor, or like some type of lead generation opportunity that's in alignment with what you want to do. And if you have all three of those, that's fine. What I see though is that people are not really effective on the lead generation and conversion, right? So they don't have the skill sets on that. And if they start taking the easy route with Zillow, then they're not making any money. So the middle would be your sphere of influence, but what are they doing to nurture their sphere? I mean, it's difficult unless you're leveraging some of the same things we teach in Neighborhood Mayor.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like it gives you a strategy. It gives you a win the day task that you have to do. Every month there's an event or some kind of thing that you're doing that you're working towards. I mean, for example, the St. Patrick's Day big event that we just finished up. I know you've come to it in the past. It's a hell of a good time.
Mm-hmm.
We leverage the fact that Dayton, Ohio is one of the best places in Ohio to have, as far as they celebrate St. Patrick's Day in a really big way. And I think it's like number 8
on a whole nother scale. Mm-hmm.
Whole nother level. Well, we were able to negotiate with one of the largest, or the largest place. They've got a tent that holds like 1,000 people on this Irish pub. And we negotiated a tent that's a VIP tent that's connected to the main stage where the music's playing all day long. And it essentially is our private suite that we invite all of our VIPs and our customers that we think that are influential in our business, and friends and family. And it's a pretty big tent. We can hold a lot of people in there. We've got private restrooms, all the things that people don't like about being in the general public there. And we roll that up from every one of our neighborhoods. So we're in many different neighborhoods. We've got several different agents that have their own neighborhood mayor programs going in their neighborhoods. We have 2 or 3 of our own, and every one of the content that we create for that event is speaking directly to that neighborhood group, saying, hey, Yankee Trace, it's Andrew. You're invited to the Dublin pub this weekend to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with you and the rest of your neighbors. Boom, we cut demos, we're creating content, we're getting touches the whole way through. We're doing the same thing for all the other ones. Our agents are doing the same thing with them, and then they all roll up to one event. So we basically, through economies of scale, have been able to just plug and play all this different messages. When people get there, they're all thinking it's super, specific to them, and yet everybody's having a good time. So that's the kind of thing that I think you got to think of, how many opportunities that you can continue to touch your own sphere of influence, and in alignment with what you're doing in the neighborhood mayor can be doing the same thing. It doesn't have to just be geographically, going in. We have people that neighborhood mayor program clients of ours they're doing it with golf outing, like a golf group. One of our guys was like, man, I don't live in a neighborhood that really is defined. We went through all the criteria, and he couldn't really come up with a neighborhood that he felt would be a good one for him to jump in. And I'm like, well, what do you like doing what do you do in your time off? He's like, well, I sell real estate and I do a little golfing. I'm like, bingo. Okay. Talk to me about the golfing. Well, we got about 20 guys, and we get together on Thursday nights, and we have a little mini golf league thing that we do. I'm like, that's what you need to really go all in on. So what he did was he started he put together a structure to it. He put together a logo. He basically made himself the chairman of this thing that he created. And then he started to align with his partners in the business, his lenders, his title company. Hey, come a little bit early to the golf outing on Thursday. We've got such and such mortgage company there. They're buying the first round of drinks, or stay after, whatever. He's got about 200 people now in this golf league that he doesn't, he's just the administrator of. But everywhere he goes, they know him as the realtor. He wears his swag. He gives out T-shirts. I mean, he's basically living off relationships that he's created with those people that are in alignment with what he likes to do for a living, and they share values and interest with him. And it's like It doesn't have to work. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons we learned, is that it doesn't have to be a geographic area. If you can, it's the ideal. But you can also, through church groups, through activities, through all this stuff, you can have the same experience.
It was crazy. I had a good conversation with your son Caleb a couple of weeks ago, and just really unpacking his hard money company and really getting the whole nuts and bolts of that. And he's like, listen, he said, a massive amount of our investors' money comes from the golf country club that I'm a member of. And he goes, I don't even want to be a member there, but I'm a member there because of it. It's unlocked all of these relationships and tap me into millions and millions of investor dollars to be able to run our hard money company. And I'm like, that's a neighborhood mayor program, right? Yeah. You're working it the same way. And so I love that distinction, right? Because sometimes our mind gets in a box and it's fixed on housing, geographical location. I have to have this, but it could also be other affiliations and other groups that we're have an affinity for, because there's already kind of almost common ground trust already built to be like, this dude plays golf, I play golf, but this got to be a cool because he plays golf because I play golf.
Exactly.
So I think there's that immediately kind of opens up the conversation, and there's already a little layer of trust automatically built because we have the same affiliation.
Yeah, you're right. And not everybody has that geographic area. Now, I would argue that you could find one and you don't have to live there, and we've proven that. I think that you can have a neighborhood mayor of your sphere of influence. You could be doing the same things that we do on a geographic area in your sphere of influence. It's a little bit more difficult when you're trying to talk about, housing sold in the area and things like that. Now you're talking about it more from a city standpoint, but it definitely can happen. I would say that if somebody's asking me, hey, what's the criteria for a good neighborhood? I would say I'd like to see 1,000 minimum houses, or 1,500 would be ideal. But that doesn't mean that every neighborhood itself has to have 1,000. Like, we've had situations where we've got multiple neighborhoods that are kind of close to each other, and maybe there's a park centrally located. We got one that's the water tower area. We call it the neighborhoods of the water tower is what it's called. And there's 4 neighborhoods, and they're all about 300, 350 houses in them. But there's a water tower that's pretty prominent right in the middle. So we just coined our own, neighborhood for that. And it was kind of based on the every door direct mailing route, because you got to look at that, because that's economies of scale where you're trying to, it's just a lot more affordable to mass mail on the every door direct. Happen to be. So we've then coined that area, and then we've educated those people in the area that that's where they live. And then we created a private Facebook group for all those people to become members of. And that's how we communicate, and that's how we do our thing. It's worked out great. So you don't tell, there's all kinds of excuses you can have as to why something doesn't work. But if you look around your office, you look around your community, the hustlers always hustle and the hustlers always win. There's a way to get around it. You just got to think things through.
Yeah, no, it's so good. So as we kind of wrap up, I'm curious early on how AI is playing into the program, and possibly where you see the possibilities of it into the future.
Yeah, I mean, AI is now starting to recognize a little bit of the things that we're doing in the neighborhood, but I almost think of it more as I wouldn't say it is the insulator of AI. Like, if you're going to insulate yourself away from somebody just throwing a bunch of money at it to influence AI to give the correct answer for them. And I think it's going to go that way as these AI platforms are competing. They're going to have to generate money, and that's how they're generating it. I think that it's more important to do these things as a fundamental level so that you're more insulated against the threat of an agent that's leveraging AI to come in and knock out some of the sales. But we are seeing a lot of new technology that we're able to use with the geo farming, with training the AI with prompts and doing all that stuff. I know Chris, my partner, is a heck of a lot more tech savvy than I am, but we've spent a considerable amount of time really educating the platforms that we are the expert in the area. And when AI goes in and they're looking at all these things, the platforms, they're looking at who sells the most, who has the most content in those areas, who's had the most success. They're looking at websites. It's looking at all those things, the number of reviews. So you have to be really, really aware that those are all things that we're doing to prompt AI to think of us when they're thinking who the expert is in the area.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be really interesting to see how it continues to play out. However, I would keep defaulting back to what are the things that we know that won't change, and let's really ground our strategy and our foundation into those things, which is, like you said, finding out what the community needs and delivering on that and keeping that promise.
I agree. I think the biggest thing too is that there's a tremendous amount of mistrust in what people see content wise now. We don't know if it's reality or if it's, AI. We just don't know. I mean, how many times you see Joe Rogan promoting a product that he's not promoting? It's, they're basically just counterfeiting it. And when people no longer can trust what's being told to them because everything is so realistic, Elon was talking the other day about the Matrix and, are we living in a simulation and all that kind of stuff? Like, it's getting so good that people just don't know the difference. So the only way they're going to differentiate between that and what's reality is with their own eyes and their own, hands and touch and smell and all that, their senses that they have. And that's typically local. So when they see your signs, when they're driving down the street, they know it's real. When they see you pulling in with a Kona ice truck for the kids to come off the bus and you're shaking hands and kissing babies, they know this guy's real. It's not fake. And I think that that's where we've chosen to double down. We're not all in terms of our only opportunity, but it is definitely 1/3 of our strategy. And like Nick Krim says, like, we are using AI to leverage and we're learning to master AI so that we can get the right results that we want. We're not held up on trying to master AI and how it is functioning today and building code and all that. I mean, all that stuff, the whole reason why you have AI is so it does it for you. So if you can master the ability on your prompts for AI to help you with what you want, that's really all you need. It's just like the magic tool that's going to give you what you're looking for. So let's ask that what we can do to help us connect better with our clients, maybe make our scheduling more efficient, make our advertising more appealing, all those different things. I mean, it's funny, we have Dan Kennedy's, all his stuff loaded into our AI so that everything we send out is act as Dan Kennedy and write me a deal for this, situation. And it's awesome. And my Liz is like, where are you getting all this stuff's good? I'm like, man, it's old school, but it's now.
It is old school.
Yeah, it's old school, but it works. And that was a fundamental shift for me. Krim and I had a nice conversation, I think, down in Florida where we were just kind of bullshitting. And he kind of helped me go through some of that in my mind, as opposed to the anxiety of really trying to think I had to figure out how to run it all. No, I just got to learn how to ask it the right questions to get me the answers that are going to be the most effective.
Being able to, it's change your questions, change your life, right? Being able to, the power is in the question. So I love that. Brother, I can't thank you enough. Appreciate you, jumping back in here with us and really, embodying what the whole Expert Mentor program has been all about. 300 an episode, 16 episodes and still rocking. And, you guys listening in, you want to get caught up on all the Expert Mentors live. They're all on YouTube. You can go to emlreplay.com, scrolling here at the bottom. If you're listening to this on the podcast, they're all there. If you found your way to the podcast, all 300 and now 16 episodes are loaded in there, so you can find them all. But if you just want to get to the EML conversations, I would just tell you best place to go is to YouTube. You can just go to emlreplay.com. We'll get you there and you can get through them all. Brother, how can folks find out more about the neighborhood program?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to jointhemayor.com, it's access to us, or you can reach out, just Google Andrew Gaydosh, and we can take care of you. We've got some pretty good programs in the works, and we've got some finished product too. We do coaching and whatnot on some of this stuff. So it's exciting. Nothing like what you do, John. I know you guys you're keeping our ship righted, I should say. And we love coaching. Our entire team coaches with John. So we're, lock, stock, and barrel with you and your philosophies. And it's been great. So we appreciate it. But man, I think that in this day and age, we have to get back to the basics, leverage the future, but, make sure we're still tight with the relationships.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Brother, thank you so much. You guys get connected with Andrew, get plugged into the Neighborhood Mayor program, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Brother, thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.